Have you ever wondered why bringing that positive change you really want is so hard? You want to eat healthier, read more books, learn a new language, or maybe master the guitar or clarinet. The intentions are strong, but the follow-through, not so much. Just deciding you'll start eating salad or reading for an hour every day won't magically change things. You plan to read War and Peace, but let's be honest, Netflix's next episode button usually wins. And that's exactly where the magic of habits kicks in. In this video, we're talking about James Clear's bestseller Atomic Habits, a book that shows you don't have to totally reinvent yourself to make big changes. You just have to understand the power of small habits. Because when those tiny changes stack up day after day, they become the foundation of your success. Ready? Let's start a journey where you can transform your life, one small habit at a time.
Chapter 1. Small Habits, Big Impact. Imagine this. A plane takes off from Los Angeles, heading to New York City. The flight path is locked in. Coordinates are set. Everything looks perfect. But just a few minutes after takeoff, the pilot makes a tiny mistake. The nose of the plane shifts by just 3.5 degrees. It's such a small change, no one notices. Not the passengers, not even the pilot. But over the next few hours, that tiny shift adds up. And when the plane finally lands, it's not in New York, it's in Washington, D.C. That's the power of small changes. And that's exactly how life works. The little choices you make every day, good or bad, might seem like they don't matter. Skipping a workout, eating a slice of pizza, taking a 10-minute walk. One day, it doesn't make a difference. But when those small actions repeat, day after day, they start to compound. And without even realizing it, they begin to change your direction. Let's say you're out of shape. You go for a 20-minute jog, just once. The next day, you won't look any different. You won't feel any different. But if you run for 20 minutes every single day, no skipping, no excuses, after a few weeks, you'll notice it. Your clothes feel looser. Your energy improves. You're breathing easier. That's the compound effect of habit. Take Warren Buffett, for example. Today, he's one of the wealthiest investors in the world. But he started with small investing habits. Simple, consistent, repeated for decades. And that's what made him a legend. The problem is, we want results right now. And when we don't see them immediately, we give up. But James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says, don't focus on the result. Focus on the direction. Maybe your bank account looks low today, but if you're saving regularly, even a little, you're headed the right way. You just haven't seen the outcome yet. Stay patient, stay consistent, and success becomes a matter of time. That's the mindset you need. A long-term vision backed by daily discipline. So how do habits actually form? Think about it. When you walk into a dark room, do you stop and think before turning on the light? Of course not. Your hand just flips the switch automatically. That's a habit. Now imagine if you could build habits like that, ones that pull you towards success. No willpower, no stress, just consistency. And once those...
Chapter 2. Habits are automated behaviors that we've learned from experience. Your day runs on autopilot. Brushing your teeth, driving, checking your phone, all of these are habits. And habits are so powerful that sometimes you don't even think, you just act on reflex. But how are these habits actually formed? Let me tell you an interesting story. Back in the late 1800s, there was a psychologist named Edward Thorndike. He did a famous experiment. He put some cats in a closed box. The goal was simple: see how they'd escape. The first time a cat went into the box, its natural reaction was panic. It pawed at the sides, scratched the walls, total struggle mode. Then, by accident, the cat pressed the lever and the door popped open. The cat was free. Thorndike put the same cat back inside, and after a few repeats, the cat figured it out. Hit the lever, open the door, get out. After 20 to 30 tries, that same cat that used to panic could now escape in just 6 seconds. The lesson? Whenever a behavior gives a satisfying result, like getting freedom, the brain wants to repeat it over and over until it becomes a habit. Modern science now tells us that every habit has 4 steps. Number 1, cue, the trigger or signal that tells your brain to act, like walking into a dark room. Number 2, craving, the desire you feel. You want light so you can see. Number 3, response, the action you take. You flip the switch. And finally, reward. You get light and you feel relief. This cycle shows up in every habit. For example, do you drink coffee in the morning? What's your cue? Waking up. The craving? You want energy. The response? You make coffee. The reward? You feel alert and refreshed. See how the system works? Once you understand the system, you can actually design your own habits. You get to choose which direction your life goes, toward junk habits or toward growth habits. So now that you understand how habits are formed, in the next chapter, we'll learn how to build powerful habits that move your routine towards success without all that struggle with willpower.
Chapter 3. Building new habits requires hard-to-miss cues and a plan of action. Let's say you want to learn guitar. You're passionate, you've got the instrument, and you even know the basics. But every day you just think, I'll practice in the evening. And then the day slips by and the guitar sits untouched. So what's the problem? Your cue is missing. Your environment isn't nudging you toward the action. Now that you understand how habits work, you can actually design your environment to help you out. Here's a simple trick. Don't keep your guitar in the closet. Put it right in the middle of your living room where you'll see it all the time. The more obvious the cue, the easier it is to take action. This is exactly what James Clear suggests. Make the cue visible and impossible to ignore. But a cue alone isn't enough. Most of us set vague goals. I want to eat healthy. I should exercise. I'll learn guitar. But these intentions just float in the air. Use what's called implementation intentions. Make a clear plan for when and where you'll do the habit. Let's stick with the guitar example. Instead of saying, I'll practice sometime, say, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as soon as my alarm goes off, I'll grab my guitar and practice for an hour. And remember, the guitar stays in the middle of the room. Now your cue is clear and your plan is ready. Your brain doesn't have to decide, it just has to follow the routine. You might be wondering, this all sounds good, but does it really work in real life? Here's a solid real-life example. Dr. Ann Thorndike, a doctor at a hospital in Boston. Her mission was to help people change their unhealthy eating habits without forcing them. Not everyone has strong willpower, and discipline doesn't always do the trick. So she changed the environment. She removed soda from the cafeteria fridge and replaced it with bottled water. She also put extra water bottles everywhere, on tables, in the corners, even by the cash register. The result? Soda sales dropped by 11% and water sales went up by 25%. People didn't even think about it. They just picked what was right in front of them. What does this tell us? If you tweak your environment, your behavior changes on its own. No stress, no overthinking. So what have we learned so far? Habits are powerful. Every habit follows a pattern: cue, craving, response, and reward. And your environment and implementation intentions are your secret weapons for building better habits.
Chapter 4. Humans are motivated by the anticipation of reward, so making habits attractive will help you stick to them. So far, we've talked about the cues and triggers that start habits, but now let's focus on the part that actually drives you to take action, the reward. Back in 1954, two neuroscientists, James Olds and Peter Milner, ran a shocking experiment. They inserted electrodes into the brains of some lab rats to block dopamine release. And the result? The rats became totally inactive. No eating, no drinking, no movement. They simply lost all motivation. In a few days, all the rats actually died of thirst. Pretty wild, right? But it taught us something big. Dopamine is the chemical that gives us the motivation to live. Whenever we do something good for survival, like eating, drinking, or connecting with others, dopamine gets released and we feel great. And that good feeling is what makes us want to do the action again. But here's the twist. Whether or not we actually do something, just anticipating the action, even just thinking about it, can release dopamine. That's the golden insight for building habits. If you can link your new habit to something you naturally enjoy, the power of dopamine will work in your favor. This is called temptation bundling. Here's a real-world example. Ronan Byrne, an engineering student from Ireland. He knew he needed to exercise, but he found working out boring. Watching Netflix, though, he loved it. So what did he do? He connected his bike to his laptop and wrote a program so Netflix would only play while he was cycling at a certain speed. So now, exercise plus Netflix equals a consistent habit. And you don't need to be an engineer to use this trick. If you want to work out but also love reading gossip magazines, decide you'll only read them at the gym. Or maybe you have sales calls to make but really want to watch sports, set a rule, I'll only watch ESPN after I talk to 10 prospects. Simple formula. Boring plus fun equals consistent habit. And dopamine becomes your best friend. That's the secret of habits. Don't force yourself, just design your life so taking action is easy and enjoyable. So far, we've learned how habits are formed, how cues and triggers work, how your environment helps, and now how to use dopamine's power to make habits stick. In the next chapter, we'll find out why good habits sometimes break down and how to bounce back when they do.
Chapter 5. If you want to build a new habit, make that habit as easy to adopt as possible. By now, you've realized if a habit is enjoyable, it sticks. But today, there's another golden rule. If you make a habit easy, it becomes automatic. Think about it. Most of your day is filled with really easy choices. Scrolling Instagram, eating chips, binge-watching YouTube shorts. Why? Because doing those things feels effortless. There's no friction, no struggle. But when it comes to learning Mandarin or doing 100 push-ups, we put it off. Those things just feel hard. So James Clear says, if you want to make a productive habit part of your life, make it easy. Trick number 1, reduce friction. Here's a real-life example. James Clear wasn't good at sending greeting cards. He'd remember, but never actually send them. But his wife, she never missed an occasion. Why? Because she kept a box at home with pre-sorted cards, birthdays, weddings, condolences, ready for any occasion. Whenever she needed one, she'd just grab it and mail it. No friction at all. That's the power of habit design. And if you want to break a bad habit, you need to increase friction. For example, if you want to watch less TV, unplug the TV. Take the batteries out of the remote. Next time you feel like watching, you'll have to put in the extra effort, which means you'll only watch if you really want to. It's simple. Good habits reduce friction. Bad habits add friction. Target trick number 2, the 2-minute rule. This rule can literally change your life in just 2 minutes. The idea is make every habit so small that starting it feels almost effortless. For example, you want to say, I'll read a book a week. That sounds tough, right? So instead, start by reading just 2 pages every night. If your goal is to run a marathon, start by just putting on your running shoes every day. You might wonder, why do something so small? Because action creates momentum.
Once you put on your shoes, chances are you'll go for a run. Once you read 2 pages, you're likely to keep reading. And that's the seed of success, starting. The moment you start, you've already won half the battle. So the next time you plan a new habit, remember, start small, start easy, start now.
Chapter 6. Make your habits instantly satisfying. We've now reached the final stage of building lasting habits. And this one is key, the golden rule that determines whether a habit will actually stick. Let's understand it through a real-life story. Stephen Luby, a public health researcher in the 1990s. Luby was working in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Karachi, Pakistan. There, he managed to reduce cases of diarrhea by 52%, pneumonia by 48%, and skin infections by 35%. Was it because of a new vaccine or a state-of-the-art hospital? Not at all. It was because of soap. Yes, just soap, but not just any soap. Luby partnered with Procter & Gamble to hand out premium scented soap for free. And something amazing happened. Hand washing, once a boring, ignored chore, suddenly became pleasant. The soap lathered easily, smelled great, and made people feel instantly refreshed. The result? Hand washing became a habit. Not because people were told to do it, but because it felt good. That's the big lesson here. If a habit is satisfying, we naturally want to repeat it. But here's the challenge. Our brains don't always work that way. We live in a delayed return world. You go to the gym today, but you don't lose weight tomorrow. You save money this month, but the reward comes years later. You eat healthy today, but the results show up slowly. Meanwhile, our brains were wired for immediate returns. Back in the early days of humanity, it was all about, what do I eat today? Or how do I stay safe right now? So when you try to build a good habit that pays off later, your brain easily gets distracted by things that feel good right now, even if they're harmful long term. Take smoking, for example. You know it can cause cancer years down the line, but in the moment, it relieves stress. That's why the key to building long-term habits is to attach them to an immediate reward. Here's a great example from the book. A couple wanted to eat out less, cook at home, get healthier, and save money. All long-term goals. So they got creative. They opened a savings account called A Trip to Europe. Every time they skipped a restaurant meal and cooked at home, they transferred $50 to that account. That $50 notification was their instant reward. It made the decision feel exciting, like, yes, we're one step closer to Europe. That's how you trick your brain into loving good habits. Unless you make a habit feel good now, your brain won't care how good it is later. Let's recap what we've learned so far. How habits are formed, how to design better cues and environments, how dopamine drives behavior, how to reduce friction, and now how to make habits instantly satisfying. But there's still one more challenge ahead. What happens when you slip up? When you break the habit? When life gets in the way and your consistency falls apart? In the final chapter, we'll explore how to bounce back and why that might be the most powerful skill of all.
Chapter 7. Create a framework to keep your habits on track, using trackers and contracts. So finally, we've arrived at the last step of our journey. We've learned how habits are built, how to design your environment and rewards, and how tiny habits can lead to big results. But there's still one question left. How do you make sure you actually stick with new habits? The answer is habit tracking. This isn't a new concept. Here's an example. Benjamin Franklin, one of America's founding fathers, at just 20 years old, he started keeping a notebook to track his 13 personal virtues.
Every night, he'd write down which values he followed and which ones he missed. This was his habit tracking journal, and it helped him monitor his growth every day. Today, you can do the same thing. Whether it's a simple calendar or a diary, just mark every day you stick to your habit. And when you tick off a day or cross it out, that feel-good dopamine hit boosts your motivation even more. One tick, one win. But if you want an even stronger commitment, here's the next level: habit contract. This is a system where you make a written commitment to yourself and to others. There was an entrepreneur, Brian Harris, from Nashville. He created a habit contract and signed it with his wife and trainer. His goal? Get down to 200 pounds. He picked 2 specific habits: track his food every day, weigh himself every week. And the penalties? If he missed food tracking, $100 to his trainer. If he skipped a weigh-in, $500 to his wife. Ouch. But guess what? He hit his goal. Because it wasn't just about the money, the pressure of being accountable to those 2 people mattered even more. That's the power of social pressure. We're human, social animals. When we know someone's watching, we become more disciplined. So make a simple habit contract too. Tell a close friend, partner, or coworker what you want to do, and if you don't, what the consequence will be. Maybe you risk losing money, or you have to write an embarrassing post. Whatever makes you truly uncomfortable, that's what will work. Whether your goal is big or small, your habit easy or tough, if you track it and stay accountable, you become unstoppable. One tiny positive habit every day will transform you into a new version of yourself. And that's the real essence of Atomic Habits. You don't need a revolution. You just need to take one tiny step a day. And one day you'll look back and realize you rebuilt yourself.
Final summary: one small behavior change won't transform your life in a single day. But if you repeat that small change every day, sooner or later, that tiny habit will become part of your identity. Transformation doesn't come from revolutions. It comes from having a system. That's the core message of Atomic Habits. You don't need to make a 180-degree turn in your life. Just build a strong system of small habits. Habits that move you closer to your best self day after day. And here's one last pro tip. Use habit stacking. Think about it. You drink coffee every morning without even thinking about it, right? So just add meditation right after your coffee. This technique lets new habits attach themselves effortlessly to your existing routine without draining your willpower. Oh, and if you found this video valuable, now it's your turn to build a habit. Subscribe if you want powerful, practical summaries of more life-changing books like this. Like if you believe that big wins are possible through small changes. And drop a comment. What's one habit you're starting today? I'll see you in the next video with a new book and a new mindset. Until then, keep building, one atomic habit at a time.